Hi, I'm Laura Gitlin.
I'm Nancy Hodgson.
And today we're going to be talking to you about future challenges and the role that technology can play in dementia care. We have three objectives. First, we're going to discuss briefly the role of technology in reducing disability and improving quality of life in people with dementia as well as their caregivers. We will provide examples of current and emerging technologies for dementia care that you should be on the lookout for. And then we're going to highlight current research initiatives testing various technologies to improve quality of life for people with dementia and their caregivers. As we go through this discussion, we'd like you to keep in mind several critical points. First of all, we're going to give you examples of products and technologies, but we are in no way endorsing any product. Secondly, it's important to understand that there is a wide range of emerging technologies. This is a very rapidly developing area and very promising in dementia care. While many technologies are available right now, they still are not well integrated in dementia care nor accessible to most people, but yet we feel it's important for you to know about them. Also keep in mind that a technology that may help one person, one family, or be implemented in one particular practice setting may not be helpful to another. So understanding how to place a technology in dementia care is important, and we would like you to draw on some of the theories and principles that we have discussed in other lectures. So let's get started. First of all, let's think about the role of both low and high technology in dementia care by referring back to the clinical trajectory that was first introduced by Dr. Albert in her lecture when we began this course. And as you see, dementia unfolds over a period of time from preclinical stage to mild to severe stage. And technology can have a role in each stage in the course of the disease. It can promote accessibility. It can improve safety in any kind of care setting, from home to the hospital. It can be used to monitor a person's safety and their well-being, and it can be also used to ease caregiving. Technology and the emerging research on the use of technology, whether it's low or high, has various very important outcomes. It can improve the independence and the ability of a person with dementia, particularly at the mild and early stages of the disease, to be more independent. It can improve wayfinding, and you will see that as we refer to different technologies. It can improve quality of life for both the person with dementia and the caregiver. And also, think back to that competence environmental press theoretical framework we talked about in a previous session. It can improve the fit between the person with dementia and the caregiver and their physical environment. So a little bit about terminology. There's a lot of different terms that are used to refer to some of the items that we will be talking about. So the most popular is to refer to these terms in terms of assistive devices, but you'll also see them in the literature as assistive technology, special equipment, or just devices. So assistive devices can be defined or understood very broadly to mean that it can be any object that is modified or adapted to compensate for a person's reduced abilities and in order to enhance their home safety. So you can even think, for example, of a microwave that is adapted, or a telephone that's adapted by enlarging the print, and we can refer to that as an adapted technology. Assistive devices can be implemented in dementia care by themselves. We've talked about in previous sessions the role of the grab bar, for example, in bathrooms, or it can be used in conjunction with other therapeutic approaches, such as the use of activities or other kinds of environmental modifications to create a supportive environment for the person with dementia.
So we're going to be focusing now on some high-tech, some innovative technologies, some emerging technologies, and some technologies that are currently available but may not be considered for use in dementia care. This first category is technologies that make living at home more accessible. And Laura just discussed things like cell phones that have larger buttons or have limited choices so that they're easier to navigate as an example of technology that can be useful for making phone calls, for example, more accessible. Another type of assistive device in the home could be a robotic vacuum cleaner, which can allow an individual to maintain their independence longer. So there are existing technologies out there, microwaves with larger buttons, for example, that are helpful in just making daily living in the home environment more accessible.
So accessibility is a very critical aspect of improving quality of life for people with dementia. Research has shown that older adults with dementia who are living at home and those who are living at home with decreased accessibility have poorer quality of life. So here you see an array of very simple and somewhat low-cost devices that can reduce the demands of the environment and these objects in such a way as to enhance the person's ability to interact better with them to accomplish daily goals.
Another level of assistive devices that's very important in dementia care are those devices that prevent wandering. And here's an array of photos that give some examples. Wandering, as you know, is one particularly problematic neuropsychiatric symptom that individuals with dementia, particularly in the moderate stage, exhibit. And there's a number of sensor-like devices out there that are useful and that can be created into alarms that would alert the caregiver when the person is beginning to either leave the bed. So there's an example here of a bed alarm. You'll probably may be aware of chair alarms that similarly become alerted when a person is trying to move from one setting to another. And there's also door alarms and other types of devices that would be noise alerts that tell you that the person is leaving one setting.
Nancy, another example of a very low-tech assistive device is using a doormat that makes a sound when a person steps on it. And that often can distract a person with dementia who wants to leave the home and bring them back into the area where they're safe.
Another great way of not necessarily preventing wandering, but of being able to find someone, are these embedded radio frequency devices or global positioning systems that are now embedded into shoes or into wristwatches, and they allow you to monitor the location of a person with dementia. So this is also particularly useful when wandering is a concern.
One of the issues about this technology is it may depend upon having a family member who's very well versed in the technology and comfortable with using it because it would require setup and monitoring. So just a consideration for this kind of technology.
Another type of technology is remote monitoring. This can include motion sensors in rooms, motion sensors at doors or in bathrooms, and they also allow family members to remotely monitor where an individual is in their environment from a separate location.
Remote monitoring is critical because there is a growing prevalence of family members who are caring for people remotely and not living with them. So these are emerging technologies, and some which already exist, that can be extremely helpful for families.
Also, there are assistive devices and apps out there that can help you locate people that are lost, and they really range in cost from Securitrek, which has a number of applications that are really at a higher price point, but are particularly maybe useful to you, to 99-cent apps that can be uploaded onto your phone that are also useful for helping locate people who are lost. Another category of technology that's also very useful are medication adherence technologies. These are dispensing systems or reminder systems that either unlock and open a drawer so that medications that are due for that particular interval are made available to someone. There's also reminder systems or alarms that are available. So these also range from low-tech to more high-tech type devices.
And again, this kind of technology, and whether you choose a low or high-tech version of a medication dispensing system, may depend upon the familiarity of a family caregiver and their comfort level with the technology. But I also want to mention that these kinds of dispensing systems are invaluable in a whole range of practice settings and living environments, such as nursing homes and assisted living, and even in adult day centers.
Definitely, you seem to be being applied more and more often
Yes.
in clinical practice.
Right.
Another type of technology being applied in the home setting are safety technologies. These include devices such as valves that would prevent scalding from hot water, or ways of automatically shutting off stoves after certain intervals. So there's a range of technologies highlighted here that enhance home safety.
And these are very critical ways of keeping people safe in their home, whether they're living alone or with other family members, and they tend to be low cost.
The next direction really in home technology are these integrated systems or smart home systems, which include a whole home or whole life approach to addressing medication reminders, remote monitoring. There includes some socialization features, even health monitoring. So these smart home technologies are really the next generation and the next integrated approach to maintaining home safety and enhancing quality of life.
And so while this kind of technology may not be accessible to everyone right now, it's very important to understand the critical role this will play in the development of future housing stock. And in a way, this relates to this principle called a universal design, that these home technology systems are actually helpful and appropriate for anybody with any kind of issues and or for enhancing daily life.
Another category that is part of the integrated home system technology, but that we just wanted to highlight individually, are these technologies that are really social networking systems to improve the support that caregivers receive. And they range from phone applications or phone systems that provide you guidance in terms of carrying out the multiple tasks that caregivers have to carry out. And so the Unfrazzled app is one example of that. To systems such as the I Am Care technology, which is really a social networking system where caregivers can meet other caregivers and share lessons learned, support one another, and also receive guidance around the person that they're caring for, around developing an individual plan of care. Laura, you also have another example, right?
Yeah, I'd like to share that we are in development of a tool called WeCare. This is a collaboration between researchers at the University of Michigan and myself and others, Dr. Lyketsos and others at Johns Hopkins University. And we're developing an app, as I said, called WeCare, that will help both former providers and informal caregivers to identify behavioral symptoms and link them to specific non-pharmacologic strategies to address very troublesome behaviors that we've learned about in this series.
That's great. Lastly, I wanted to just highlight some technologies that are out there to improve quality of life. One example is Art in the Movement, which is an app that was developed at the Art Institute of Chicago and funded by the Alzheimer's Association that helps make visits to art museums more readily available and for individuals with dementia. So Art in the Movement is a wonderful new application for just simply enhancing quality of life to the art experience. Also, just not to underestimate the role of things like digital photo frames. They're very useful technologies for enhancing visitation, for promoting reminiscence, and people have found them very helpful.
And I'd like to add that these technologies are really very helpful in whatever kind of setting. I've seen them used very successfully in adult day centers, in assisted living facilities, in nursing homes, and I haven't seen them yet applied in hospital rooms, but I think that this is a great example of how the technology can be used to help orient somebody even in that setting. So we'd like to conclude by pointing out three very important centers that are at the cutting edge of developing technology for dementia care. And one is the Intelligent Assistive Technology and Systems Lab in Toronto, Canada. They've been doing some great work with robotics and general technologies for helping older adults in general age in place, and then specifically with older adults with dementia. Another institute that you should keep track of and see what's coming out of their laboratory is the Massachusetts Institute of Technology Age Lab in Cambridge, Massachusetts in the United States. And finally, another cutting-edge center is the Center for Technology and Aging in Oakland, California. So as we said when we began, there are emerging technologies some are available now and others are under development. And this remains a very important area that we should all be keeping track of so that we can see how we can enhance dementia care by the inclusion of both low and high technology.
So stay tuned.